So, good morning, everyone. This is Sammy again. I spent probably 10 to 15 minutes doing a recording and stitching a little bit of the rock here, and then realized I hadn't unmuted my mic, so you couldn't hear me. Oh boy. So thank you to those of you that are returning to watch me and listen to me ramble on. And welcome to anyone new to my channel. So I'm still working on the HAED SAL unicorn waterfall with the unicorn. I forget which it is. It's unicorn pattern. But there's actually no unicorns in this particular piece. It's really focused on the pagoda, and then once we get down near later in the year, there's going to be some flamingos down here. That'll be pretty. So I did want to say thank you to Taniqua. I hope I got that name right, who commented on my last stitch with me that they enjoyed both of the music and the talking stitch with me. So thank you for that. I do plan on doing more of both. I did also want to note that I made this based on Stitching Masterpieces. She has a whole full DMC set that's like this. So she has 2 holes over here, and she keeps a skein of the color so that she can pull off of. And then she has these with the felt sewn onto the back so that she can keep a needle of a color in there. And while I'm not doing this, because I started to, and then I'm like, this is going to tear because I don't have a regular hole punch. I have some creative hole punches, and it was very clear that it would tear this paper because I didn't follow her tutorial exactly, and that was my bad. But I'm using it now. I decided a couple of days ago to use it to still give me a little bit of working thread based on how much stitches I have of that color. Kind of estimated it for this page, and then an actual needle. And well, I pulled the needle out earlier when I started the other video, and yeah, I didn't have the mic on. But I do need some more thread, so these are already cut, for immediate use, and already put through my beeswax. Come on. That's the only thing I do not like about this, is that I'm trying very hard not to tear the paper, so I don't want to just yank on it. And I started doing that 2 days ago, and that's probably if you heard any paper crinkling in my last stitch with me, that's what that was. Is me pulling any thread off of that, or even putting thread on it, because I didn't go through and put more than 1 thread for the last set on. I spent probably about maybe 45 minutes last night setting up for the rest of this page. Oh, I dropped the needle. So that I could just stitch. I could grab the thread and stitch. And that was what I really liked about how she had her system, is that she had it set up so that she could just grab the needle with the thread already there and stitch. Now I have to figure out where the heck I am. Okay, so I had done, in the part where I had been muted, I had actually done a section of stitching down through here. So now I have to start again. I think I'm right here. Yeah, I'm at 110, so 100, 110. So I'm in this column, and then 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, so I'm right here. So it's this stitch right here. Okay. So I was right. It's right here. See, so I'm starting to stitch over these grid lines, so I'm not seeing where the crisscross is, and I understand that that's why people grid using thread or sulky sliver. Yeah. But I am not going to grid now, obviously. But now I'm having to base most of my stitching on other stitches. Okay, so what I thought was a stitch is actually a piece of floss coming up. Okay. There we go. That's what was throwing me off. So this little piece of floss tail that's sticking up right here, I thought was an actual stitch due to the way it was laying. It was throwing me off as to where it was and where I had to go. Okay. So I am happy to say that today is the second day that in a row that I have actually felt good. I did have to take a nap yesterday, which kind of screwed up my sleep schedule because I crashed at 7 o'clock at night and then woke wide awake at 9:30. So it was an interesting night because I didn't get back to bed until almost 1 a.m. And when I'm used to, well, before I had this last dizzy spell set, whoa, okay. I am moving this stand all over the place. Yeah, before this last dizzy spell set, I was getting up about 3:30 in the morning and going to work at 4 in the morning since I work from home. And where am I? Right here, I think. Yeah. So suddenly falling into a night owl routine because of being out on disability and being sick and dizzy. It's gonna make going back to a morning routine a little bit of a challenge, so this next week since I'm feeling better, thankfully. And assuming my body doesn't go no, 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 I will be returning to work next week. And I will need to be at work by 5 a.m. I actually prefer to go in at 4, because then I get off at 12:30. And I have a whole bunch of time to get stuff done, including doctor's appointments and dentist appointments, what have you, without having to put them right at the end of their day. I get a much broader availability. And that's okay. I literally just lost my place. I looked over to the pattern and looked back and just lost my place. So that's where I started, and then we have that. And then we have this. Oh, I think I jumped. I think I jumped a square. Now I gotta figure out where the heck I just stitched. Right there. Yeah, I think I jumped a square. Yeah, because I was supposed to be here. Uh-oh. Let's see. So I'm gonna have these 3 stitches right here of this color, and then these 2. And then this one. Yeah, so I filled in this one right here incorrectly. I'm trying to figure out where the heck I am, because as I'm like slightly pulling on the fabric, I can't actually see where the thread's moving. So let's see if I can. I mean, I can kind of roughly see, but I can't see which stitch it is. So I know it's right in here somewhere. Sorry, I hit the camera. Let's see. Is it this color? Oh, I might just have to mark them off and then. Yeah, so it looks like it's this stitch right here, but I don't think I can pull it back out. It doesn't have any give to it. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to leave it. And I don't want to rip anything else out. Oh goodness. Okay. So yeah, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this was right at the 4 line. Yeah. So yeah, these 2 stitches right here were already marked off. And then I had 3 here, so yeah, I put in the wrong color there. Okay, so it's that one. And then that's those 3 there. And then I have 2 above that. So I didn't actually have, so I'm kind of glad I didn't pull, because it looks like I may have just jumped to this stitch here. Because then I have those 2. Yeah, so I just jumped down like a half one. Okay, so it's only 1, thankfully. It's only 1 stitch that I jumped, and then 1 that I misplaced. Come on, pattern keeper, keep up with me here. One of the ones that I accidentally put in the wrong color is a huge amount. So it was just like, oh, I'm gonna take, instead of immediately like popping up and all of those symbols go green, it has to take a while to go line by line by line to highlight them. Yeah, you can just see it coming down the page, down the screen. Okay. So I am going to have to get into the habit that when I go and I look at my pattern, why are you being so rough? There we go. When I go look at my pattern, I have to have the needle partway through a hole so that I can know exactly where I am. So, one of the things I have been doing lately as part of my recovery, and something that I noticed, is I have been avoiding the news as much as possible, or anything related to the news as much as possible, to get away from all of the negativity. Need to stay positive. Staying positive has really helped with my healing and getting back to normal. And it's been something that's been building for quite a while. I had to remove myself from watching the news mainly at all, several years ago. Because bad news sells. Bad news gets the clicks. And I started looking at the news again. Realized I don't think it's gotten any better. Neither has social media. And I'm really only on Facebook for you guys, for the cross-stitch community. Otherwise, I would not be on there anymore. And it's just really, really sad. And I'm not saying don't watch the news. It's important to stay informed, of course, but just the sheer amount of negativity can just make it seem like things are so much worse than they probably actually are. Okay, no, right here. Okay, the pattern keeper doesn't quite look like the actual pattern. I don't know if it was another mistake I made or... because, yeah, it was supposed to be on this line. Yeah. Yeah, so... anyways, I do want to note that I want this channel to be a positive place to be. I know I've been talking about being sick and such, but I do not mean it in a negative way. So, any talk of potentially divisive and negative topics, which in general tends to be religion and politics discussions, can go negative really, really fast. So believe what you want to believe. Vote how you want to vote. But please keep any of those discussions off this channel so we can keep this channel positive. We want to look towards positive things, towards the joy of cross-stitching and just simple relaxation. Our hobbies help us relax. Let's see. Let's go down this way and then we'll go back up. See, I looked away again. 3, 4, 5, 6. And looked away again without the needle through. a hole. So yeah, it's right here. Okay, so I had marked this stitch off, but I hadn't actually done it yet. Okay. That's what threw me off. So, hubby and I have been talking about maybe doing a garden again. The issue is that we get really hot during the summer and really dry. So we'll get really hot, and then about a month later, usually our monsoon season will come in and we'll be getting rains on a daily basis. Usually in the afternoon. But by that point, everything has been baked dry for a month, usually in June. So the last time we did any gardening, all of the plants died because of the heat. And then they drowned after the fact. Those that weren't dead were killed by the fact that we got a deluge of rain and sometimes hail the next month. So we were discussing maybe trying some indoor hydroponics. That couple years ago when we had tried to do some farming, we had tried to do some onions and some squash and tomatoes, and it just all died. Completely died. About the only things that even somewhat were... Nope, I just lost the needle. There we go. Even some of the ones that I were able to pull out, but they were unusable, were the onions, because they hadn't actually grown at all, because they had died partway through their growing cycles, so they were still just teeny tiny little bulbs, so they weren't even really usable. And we suspected that the natural potting soil that I had bought, which was supposed to be potting soil made from local materials, may have been part of the cause, because we still have a whole mound of it from where it had been delivered, along with some mulch, and nothing has grown in that for 2 years. I mean, mind you, it's been sitting in our front yard, and the neighbors haven't said anything, but it's been sitting in our front yard, getting rained on, snowed on, what have you. And not even weeds have grown in it. So, I guess it tells you something that the, what I thought was a good potting soil, and I had bought enough to fill quite a bit, because, I had it delivered by the truck. It was not actually conducive to growing. So we were thinking maybe doing hydroponics, where we could keep them indoors during the heat of the day, during the summer that maybe we could actually get something to grow. And I would like to have a little kitchen herb garden of sorts. When we first moved into the house, almost 10 years ago now, that next spring, summer, I decided I wanted, since I now had the ability to, I wanted some herbs, and got some pots, and we were also setting up a canopy for the patio, and we wanted something that we could put away every year. Yeah, okay. And so we set it up so that there were rocks at the bottom of the pot, and that is what really held the legs down of this canopy. So we had rocks at the bottom and then potting soil on top, and I had basil and rosemary and such in the pots. And I thought it worked great until the monsoons came. And because those pots were holding down the canopy, and we actually had to loosen the canopy so that it didn't act as a wind sail, all of that water ran down the edge and the corners of that canopy right into those pots and plants, which they're not meant to have a ton of water at once, and it basically killed them. And the winds that year ripped that canopy apart. Well, not really apart, but it bent one of the legs pretty bad, and it put a big old hole in the canopy. And so we ended up, I can make some minor repairs, but I really can't sew canvas very well. And that was also right after I ended up having a job change. An involuntary job change. Well, voluntary, involuntary. I had been working at a call center. I was working from home, but I had been working basically at a call center. And I ended up having a dizzy spell, which I thought was the disease progressing. Thankfully, it wasn't. But unfortunately, I started getting panic attacks. And I started getting panic attacks about even going back to work. Because, let me tell you, working in a call center is a very hard job. And I'm sure dealing with any public is a very hard job. I know nurses have it rough, doctors have it rough, retail workers have it rough. But there is a reason why those of us in the call that were working in a call center and had worked in retail say that they can't see your face. So they think they can get away with stuff that they otherwise would not say if they were talking to you to your face. And I understand that people get frustrated. I understand that people get upset at whatever the company is doing. But I had to leave that job and call them when I was supposed to return, because I would take my headset and put it on my head, and as soon as I did that, I would have a panic attack. And I'm like, well, maybe I just need one more day. And they gave me one more day. And then the second day, I had the exact same thing. Over the fact how I was going to be treated on the phone. And I regretted leaving the position I had been in before, which had been in a physical call center. But since I worked for a company that is a client of many companies, I couldn't just take my job and go to their work from home. Oh, pulled it right out. I ended up having to change what client it was. And let me tell you, I wish I had never done that. I had to do it for my health at that time, but I wish I had never done that. Because that 6 months that I ended up working for that client were the worst 6 months in my entire almost 5-year stay at that call center. And I had only worked for the other client in the call center. And it was just simply the client policy on their customer service policy. Because it was for okay, so when I was in the call center, I worked for a cell phone company doing warranty and tech support. We got a lot of rude people through there. Understandably, because their phone doesn't work. And then we ended up doing full technical support. So rather than just device technical support and warranty, we ended up doing full tech support, including network. And then it got even worse. The amount of people that I would have basically yelling at me because they did not have service. I would get at least one of those calls a day. But the client, the company, the cell phone company themselves, had the policy that we were not to take customer abuse. That we had to warn them to stay civil, to stay professional. And if after 2 warnings they did not stay professional, we would end the call. So when I left for the work from home position, which was for a satellite TV company, that entire policy did a 180. So not only were we not allowed to end the call, even if somebody was calling to be transferred to cancel their service, every single call for just regular customer service, mind you, we had to try to sell them something. A movie package, a pay-per-view, upsell their plan, not downsize, upsell their plan. And if we didn't try to sell them something on every single call, it was marked against us. And the amount of people who would call in to customer service who were upset, which were 90% of the calls, and they would get even more upset that we were trying to sell them something when they were trying to reduce their cost, was quite a few. And I could not do it anymore. So after physically I got well, mentally I did not. And I had to leave that job for my own mental health, my own sanity. And when you can't hang up on a customer that is cussing you up one side and down the other personally, that takes a very, very hard toll on your mental health. And I understand that there are others in industries that have it much worse. But there is a reason why some of us who have worked in call centers will never go back to a call center. And we will never recommend any of our friends or family to go work in a call center unless it is the absolute last resort. I say, we're going to stay positive on this channel, and then I go into a rant about the negativity of working in a call center. Oh boy. I laugh at it now. I do, I laugh at it now. Because it taught me a very valuable lesson. And I'm glad for the experience. And all I can say is, remember when you are talking to somebody, when you call up to a customer service line, you are talking to a real person. And don't take your anger out on them, because they may just be trying to do their job. And they may have their own things that they have to follow. And they may not like what they're having to do. But they're just trying to do their job. Just like the majority of us. But I've worked retail. My husband spent I don't know, at least 15 years in retail, probably close to 20. And we both treat everyone with respect until they prove otherwise. Because everyone is a person. We are all human. Alright, so now we're going to go down here, closer to the yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 110 line, yep, so down here. So it's not here. This I think is still yellow. So we're gonna go right here, and now I'm gonna work my way back up. So I still have a whole bunch of these stitches left to go. I have 297 left in the pattern. As I said, probably about half of total are on this side of the, or on this page. So I suspect there's probably a good 120 stitches left of this color. Really is starting to come together. And doing it like this does seem to help a bit. I mean, there clearly is some confetti. You can see where there's holes in the pagoda down here. But knowing that I'm going from least to most does seem to help quite a bit. And I don't have strings in the way. I don't have to try to move strings out of the way to find the hole I need to come up in or go down into. So, yeah. I can see why people like this method. I do not think I would do it the other way around though, where you go from most to least, because I think finding individual stitches when you have a whole bunch that are stitched would be much harder, especially at this level. When you get down into the really small, it might be easier if you're working on, say, 14 or 16 count Ada, to be able to easily see where that missing stitch is. But I'm not sure that you would be able to see it so easily on 25 count, especially if you have, like over here, there's a whole bunch of white. So if I have a stitch that's missing, like right in the middle down here, I wouldn't see it. So that's why when I'm working on that white, I usually have to get pretty close to the get pretty close to the fabric. I have to kind of lean over it just to see where I'm at. Okay, so that's that one. So what's those? So when I'm going upwards like this, because I'm not always, like I came up here and did this stitch, but then because I came down in here, I couldn't go up here, I had to come up over here. So I don't always follow the up in the bottom left, down in the top right. If I did a stitch right next to it, that would basically undo that stitch, trying to do that. Okay, so I did that 3. Yeah, I have found that going up and down tends to work really well. So far I haven't gotten any lines in my work. I'm not really following the exact columns. I kind of go with whatever my mind tells me to go with at that time. To kind of follow the flow of which way that section is going. Let's see, so here is another one. So this is actually, this entire section is this color, so I'm just going to start up here. I'll come back down and knead it. Oh, there goes George, starting barking at something. Don't know if you can hear him or not. Oh, my nose. I just got stuffy all of a sudden. Not as bad as it had been, but there we go. That's 3, and then we'll go across here. I think I'll be able to get this row in before I run out of thread. And then I'll have to switch to a new strand. It was funny. I knew that our son was up because he keeps his phone on the edge of his bed because he doesn't have a headboard. After we changed his bed and got him a bigger bed a couple years ago. The bed that he had before had a headboard because it had been my old bed. And this one does not. So he ends up putting his phone on the edge of his bed because he uses it as an alarm clock, just like I do. Well, we knew he was up because suddenly you heard the phone fall against the wall. It was like clunk clunk across the back of the wall. And it's actually, I call my office, but it's the bedroom that is against that wall where the head of his bed is, so I heard it very, very clearly. Well, George was laying in his bed in here with me, and he heard that, and he still has yet to understand what it is when that happens. So he goes running out into the living room to look out the front window to start barking at whatever went by. And I'm like, George, it's the kid. His phone fell. It's okay. But he still hasn't figured that out yet. It's funny. Might actually get another... Can I get another stitch in? Because this one is 5 stitches. Oh, I have a little bit left. I might be able to get another 2 stitches in. Don't want to play too much thread chicken here. Because I want to be able to pin it off, but if I have to put it under other stitches, I have to put it under other stitches. Try to get this full 5 in here. Yeah, this is gonna cut it close. George is still barking at something. I have no idea what he's barking at. There's a neighborhood cat that likes to come over and antagonize him. So we have a couple of neighborhood cats, and I think one of them is a stray, and I think the other 2 are neighborhood cats, so they actually belong to neighbors who allow them to come and go. And one of them likes to antagonize him by coming right up to the window or jumping on husband's truck and just looking through the window at him like, haha, you can't get me. But there's another one that we swear that George has adopted. Because he just goes absolutely crazy. And it's kind of like when Dad shows up. He goes crazy when Dad shows up because, oh my God, Dad, somebody to pet him. But he does that with that cat too. And husband let him out one time and he ran around, he grabbed his rope and ran around the edge of the house. And husband followed him and found the dog and the cat nose to nose through the edge of the fence. So that cat comes around every now and then. But she has yet to actually come into the yard. Other than, the front yard. She has yet to actually jump into the backyard. So I think the one time she did, he tried to chase her and ran her up a tree, but we seem to be okay. But she comes around probably at least every other day. He goes nuts when she comes around. And his tail's wagging. He's all happy to see her. And maybe they go out and touch noses through the fence. We don't check anymore, but let's see, I have one more thread on my paper here, 3860. And I have more stitches of this color, so I'll probably have to pull off another thread and get it ready. So in counting the stitches from the recording where I forgot to turn the mic on, and it had been muted the entire time, I have done 167 so far today. which is pretty good. Let's see, let's put you down over here. Yeah, we're just kind of filling this section out right here. Putting the rock face in. I still do not know what color is what. I don't clip a snippet of floss to a floss list. I kind of know the overall look based on the mock-up, like what I put up on the screen for you guys. But as for recognizing what symbol is what color, I do not know that. I might recognize it by the time we get to the later part of the year when we get the last installment come out. But we'll see. When we go camping this year, I'm probably only going to take one cross stitch with me. And we are planning on going up for a week and a half again. We are planning on maybe a couple of 4-day weekends. Of course, that was before this last 3 weeks. So we'll see how much time off I get. Some of our plans may be cut short. Instead of doing a 4-day weekend, we may just have to do a regular weekend. Go up after I get off work on Friday and come back on Sunday before I have to be at work on Monday. Yeah, we go up and we take the fifth wheel. Because my dad owns a fifth wheel and we share it with him. And we take the fifth wheel and we put it at a private campground to the north, up in the mountains area, so that especially during the summer we can get away from the heat a little bit. It was about 4 degrees cooler up there last year during the middle of the summer. But you still had to have an air conditioner running the entire time because, yeah, it gets hot. And when we went up there this last year, end of August and September, for a weekend, that was after I started cross-stitching again, and I took my cross-stitch up and got a lot of cross-stitching done. But I was sitting in the recliner, and since I'm sitting in the recliner, reclined with my feet up, kind of have to hold the Q-snap, and then I was still kind of doing two-handed stitching because I find that the easiest rather than going around the Q-snap, but then I would have to alternate which hand was holding the Q-snap. So we shall see this year, because I am planning on taking this stand with me. It was one of the reasons why I got the stand. And as much as I like the table clamps, the chairs for the table and the fifth wheel are not exactly comfortable to sit in for more than about 30 minutes. They're not bad, but they're not exactly comfortable either. So, okay, so where am I here? I am gonna have to do this one too. Okay. Yeah. So most of this section is this color. That's why I said I'm probably gonna have to get another thread. Let me mark off what I've done here. So yeah, I have this here coming up through here, this stitch here, and this stitch over here. And then there's a few over here, so I think I'm just going to come up this way, and then we'll see how far I get with that thread. Yeah, I'm at the point right now where I'm at the bottom of the floss list based on number of stitches left. So no more scrolling down. Let's fill this section in here. Come on. Going all around the one that I need. I hate it when I do that. Don't go into the exact, you're right there, but it goes into every other hole except the one that you want. Do something like that and drop the needle. Come on, there we go. Yeah, as I'm getting into areas where I've already stitched, it's getting harder and harder to put the needle through the hole because there's already thread there. It's one of the reasons why I like doing the tint stitch, half stitch, is because I'm not constantly putting thread through holes that already have floss. I am a little bit, obviously, because I'm doing cross country now. But I'm not having to do like this, where I've completely boxed in a stitch. So now I don't have to try and do all four. I can just do two. But as I said, I'd like to do the the hummingbirds pattern, I'm planning on doing that one in 18 count Aida. And I'm going to do that one probably 2/1 full cross. Because I think I can better do full cross on Aida than I can on this Lugana. Okay, I am not going to do the ones right next to the edge of the pagoda here. That's going to be a different section that I'll probably use a different thread for. I'm not going to be crisscrossing back and forth across the pattern. As Needlebug says, Karen from Needlebug says, and Gemma Stitches says, there are no rules in cross stitch. Only rules you make for yourself. And I change my mind quite frequently. And I may decide to even go back to parking at some point. But right now, I am enjoying this cross country. That's all that matters, is that I'm enjoying it. So I'm the one that's doing it. I hope you are enjoying watching me stitch as well. I know it's not quite the same as watching Gemma stitch and see the pattern expanding right in front of you. But in a way this is too. You can kind of see the rocks coming into play, and we'll all get there in our own way. It will come together, and soon I'll have another page finish. And we'll be able to see the entire picture. Oh, I'm gonna have to take a break soon. My back's telling me I'm gonna have to get up and move. Oh, and dang it, how long has that been in the picture frame? I'm sorry. Didn't realize my light was getting in the way again. Oh, goodness. And I just lost my place. Oh, there I am. Okay. Alright, here's the stitch here. Let's go ahead and work all of these off. Okay, so I have actually met up with what I had stitched before. Let me see where to go. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I am going to pin this off down here. Get to the point where I may have to start hooking under other stitches because I'm going to run out of places to pin. But I'll pin this off down here. Clip it, and I'm going to move I'm going to move to the other side of the pagoda over here. So I've got a couple of stitches over here, and then I'm jumping back up over here. So let's, so I've got these two here, so there's one stitch right there. Let's go down here, because there's one stitch right here. See, I pulled that right through that time. And yep, I pulled it right out. Okay, come on, there we go. Pulled a little bit too hard before I could lock it into place. Left little, trying to get a little bit more efficient there with the tail, and kind of pulled a little too hard. There we go. Well, there goes George again. So that's the it looks like I switched it, because where this 310 is right here actually should have been down here. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and put this color here. So those two stitches are going to be switched. Kind of funny. Okay, and then we have up here. Let me take my snag nabbit and push that tail back down now. Come on. There we go. So I do not have success like running a new thread through that hole and getting it to go down. I've tried, and I've still ended up having to use the snag nabbit. Okay, so there's that one, and then one directly to the diagonal. It's almost kind of like a outlining. Okay. Alright, so now we'll jump back over to the other side of the pagoda over here. Don't have a lot of thread left. I think once I am out of this one, I am going to take a break and call it. But I have about another 10 stitches or so. depends on these carries. So we've got the edge of the rock face up here. Just come on, there we go. This is unusually quiet. And only my husband knows that I'm recording. I'm not even playing any music in my headphones right now. I probably should, because I have that ringing in my ears again. That has never gone away. I didn't tell the doctor about it either, because it, well, I should say it has never gone away. It did go away when I was in the doctor's office. Go figure. Okay, so I am actually missing a stitch right here. I have it marked as completed, and it's not. And it's not this color. Let's see, how close is it? Yeah, pretty close. So I'll just go ahead and fill it in. And that's gonna have to be where I'm gonna stop, because I am out of thread now. Do I have enough to pin it off is the question. Can't. Trying to not pull the thread out of the needle and actually turn it around to get the point back down. Yeah, just barely. Looks like I'll just barely have enough to get it pinned off. There we go. Come on, there we go. Sorry, I just like hit everything, sent the frame rocking. Okay, let me, nope, I do actually already have that. Good. So in total, with the section that you can't see because it was muted, I'm going to have to tighten this again. I have done 223 stitches today. Not bad. And I have 207 of this color, probably only another, I'd say, maybe 30, 35 of this color on this page, so it's mostly just filling in the coloration of the rock. And then, of course, we'll have a lot of pinks and purples and whites and such from the waterfalls here. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. I thank you for joining me today. Positive energies to those that need it. Healing energies to those that need it, and happy stitching.